Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all having a marvelous Monday. No, today's not Monday. What's today? Today's Wednesday. I knew today wasn't Monday. Hope you're all having a great Wednesday. Middle of the week. Middle of the week's always fun. I say this every middle of the week. Because sometimes by the middle of the week, you're already burnt out. Oh, let's go live. I forgot to press live on Instagram. 1 second. There we go. Hello, Instagram. Sorry, we're a little bit late. I forgot to press start. That's how it goes sometimes. We're in the middle of the week. I thought it was Monday, but it's actually the middle of the week. And today, we're going to talk about burnout. Because sometimes by the middle of the week, you're already burnt out. You're already whooped. And you're already tired. And in poker, sometimes you get burnt out too. Interestingly enough, a lot of very recreational players or people who just don't play a lot cannot even comprehend the idea of being burnt out because they love playing so much because they almost never get to play, right? If you never get to do something or you rarely get to do something, you're not going to get burnt out with it. And usually if you're very recreational and something just goes poorly for a while, you're going to pack it up and you're going to quit, right? Pros don't have that ability to just pack it up and quit, but recreational players do. And if you're a serious recreational player, well, you're not going to quit most likely, but you can also experience burnout if you do play and just have an extended losing streak. And the tough thing for recreational players is very often they get to play once a week, let's say, right? And if you go on a 50 tournament downswing where you just don't have any real cashes for 50 tournaments, well, that's going to feel pretty rough because it's going to take you a year to play those 50 tournaments. Losing for a year straight is not so fun, but it happens. So, first things first about burnout. Everyone is different. Understand that everyone is different. And in my mind, burnout's a psychological issue, right? And it's interesting because, well, first off, I'm not a psychologist. So this is all purely speculation. But some people can just grind harder than other people. They stay focused longer. They can just work harder, and they can put in more hours than other people. I've been very lucky that I am quite good at grinding. I can sit there and grind all day. It doesn't bother me. I don't mind it if it's something I enjoy doing. And even if you enjoy doing things, though, some people can't grind them that long. They get burnt out. I apologize, I'm a little bit sick, a little bit under the weather, so if I cough or sniffle, it is what it is. So the question becomes, how much can you personally handle? And if you know that you start to get burnt out after about a week of poker, then maybe you don't need to play much more than 5 or 6 days of poker at a time. Or let's say you're writing a book like I'm doing at the moment. If you're writing a book, maybe you know that after 5 days of sitting in your office and working hard all day every day, baby spit up all over me. This is baby spit up. That's nice. After 5 or 6 days of sitting there grinding hard on a book all day every day, maybe you start to get tired. Maybe you don't enjoy it quite so much. And it's important to realize your limitations. And once you understand yourself and understand your limitations, then you'll be able to avoid doing whatever you do that pushes your boundaries, right? Now, it's fine to push your boundaries. Don't think that you should not be always trying to push yourself. But at the same time, especially in high pressure situations, high risk situations that are very important, you really don't want to necessarily push yourself because that's when you can epically fail, right? Now, failure's fine. I don't have a problem with failing. But at the same time, if I'm like writing a book and I know I'm kind of feeling burnt out as I'm doing it, I'm going to reread that thing multiple times to make sure I don't screw it up. So another question is, how much do you love the thing you're doing? Someone asks here, who is it? Gerald says, can you get burnt out from study? Absolutely. You can get burnt out from anything, in my opinion. It depends on how much you do it and how much you love it, right? If you sit there and you study 8 hours a day every day, then yeah, you're going to get burnt out because most people don't even like studying that much. That's the more tedious part of the job. and bringing on some more coaches on pokercoaching.com, and a lot of their concerns are, I'm not so sure if I'm going to be good at making webinars. And, that is the tedious part of the job, right? So I made videos of myself making webinars and showed that they really don't take all that much time if you just kind of think it out as if you're talking to a friend. Like these little coffees, right? I sit down, I take this many notes. This many notes takes me about 1 minute to write, maybe 2. And then we're going to make a 30-minute show out of it. Nice and easy, right? Sometimes you just have to get out there and talk to your friends. I think a lot of people get really worked up with the idea of, I have to make sure this is 100% perfect. And I think people are very forgiving of a lack of perfection if the content is good across the board and it's honest and real, right? So that's what I try to provide, is honest, real conversation that hopefully helps you all get better. Dave says, thanks for answering questions on Reddit. You're very welcome. I did Ask Me Anything the other day. You can find it at reddit.r/poker, somewhere in there. Let's see. You found that your small blind range versus the cutoff had more 3-bets than calls. That's good. You should have more 3-bets than calls against the small blind because you want the big blind to fold. That's what you want to have happen. All right, so going back, how much do you love what you're doing? If you love it more, you're going to like doing it more. If you don't like what you're doing at all, well, you're probably not going to feel burnt out necessarily, but you're not going to want to do it. And if you don't want to do it, you're not going to do it, right? Or you're just not going to enjoy yourself. In my mind, burnout and just generally not enjoying yourself are kind of similar. If you're just not having fun and it's like actively miserable, then maybe that's burnt out or some frustration or something like that. Okay, next. No matter how much you love anything, you will get tired of it. Poker's a great example, right? A lot of you all love poker. Some people don't necessarily love poker. I love poker. It's a great, fun game. And it's important to realize that no matter what you do, you will get burnt out eventually. So I know at the World Series of Poker, I've been very burnt out twice. Usually when things were going poorly, right? I had 2 pretty bad summers out of 10 or however many it's been. And I was burnt out by the end of it. So I figured out ways to make sure that I try to not get so burnt out by doing things like making sure I know I'm taking a vacation afterwards or taking some time off afterwards, or taking a few days off, etc., etc. I've learned a lot since I was a young, dumb kid where I would just sit there and grind all day, every day. You say, I did not answer your Reddit question. I answered literally every question that came in on Reddit. If it was submitted between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m., as I said, I would be there. Did exactly what I said I would do, and then I stayed there until 10:15 and answered a few more questions. So you must have submitted it well later. All right, so most things in life are really, really great hobbies. A lot of them are. For example, poker, an amazing hobby, right? Writing articles is an amazing hobby. Working out is an amazing hobby. Going hiking is an amazing hobby. But at the same time, if you do something all the time, it may not be such a good hobby. For example, working out. People are here saying exercise is a great way to get in a good mindset. Yeah, but what if you worked out 12 hours a day every day? Well, you just maybe even die. I don't even know. You'd get burnt out really quick, I can tell you that, right? Doing a lot of things in moderation will ensure you don't get burnt out. Ordinary Man says, some people love to complain. Burnout is overplay by many that are just weak. Yeah, you have to understand, though, you're not supposed to be doing 12 hours of anything all day, every day, which is what you do when you go out to the World Series of Poker and you play poker literally all day, every day for 2 months. I don't think people's brains are made to do that all day, every day. So you need to find things that add variance, and you need to find different things to do in your life, right? So, for example, going to the gym is a great one. That's a great way to mix it up. It's a physical activity as opposed to something like poker that's a very sedentary activity. So try to get in the gym. Maybe not every day or every day. Do things that get your body physically active, because sitting and doing nothing is not good for you, right? They say sitting is the new smoking. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but you might as well stand up, right? So be aware of that. What are some other things you can do? You can go out and go hiking, right? Going hiking's nice, but you don't want to do it for your entire life. Some people do, but I don't. I want to be able to sleep inside of a house sometimes. Think about anything. Like literally anything you could do, you can well overdo it and you can get burnt out. I think a lot of people just don't understand that poker is something, by the nature of the game, that you end up doing a lot of. And so that is why burnout actually becomes relevant. Like no one gets, well, I say no one. I don't necessarily know this is true, but I'm going to say like almost no one gets burnt out from hiking because no one goes hiking all day every day. But I guess some people out there do and they probably get tired of it. I know I love playing Magic the Gathering, but I actually did have a period of time when, this is probably 8 or 10 years ago, where I decided I'm going to play a lot online and try to like win Player of the Month. That was the thing back then. And I ended up coming like third. And I hated Magic after the end of that month because I did it as a pro, right? I played as if I was a professional player for a month. I did well, had good results, but I was tired of it. I didn't want to play anymore. And this is the game I love more than all other games, and I was just done after a month. So most things you can get tired of and you'll get worn out of if you do them too much. So if you are considering becoming a professional, I have a lot of aspiring pros come to me for advice, and this is something I always ask is, should I quit my job and go pro? I'm making X amount of money from poker when I'm playing part-time, and should I go pro? And that's always just a bad question, right? Or a bad way to think about it, because you don't have to quit your job to go pro. What you do is you take all of your vacation time. Hopefully you have some from your job. If your job is a bad job and you have no vacation time and it doesn't pay you much money, then it's free to quit, right? But if your job is a good job, like a lot of my students have, they're all making $50K or $100K a year, you should take all of your vacation time. Most of those jobs provide vacation time. You usually get 2 weeks or a month or something like that, maybe more. Maybe you can take unpaid leave and take all of that time and play poker as if you are a professional. Do it for a month or 2 weeks or 3 months or whatever you can get away with and see how you like it. Almost all of them find they don't like it so much. This game that they love, they want to consider going pro. They want to do it with all of their time. But they actually do it for all of their time for only 2 weeks or a month. They're like, ugh, this is rough. Because it is, right? How do you keep yourself interested in poker? This again goes back to the idea of like how long can you grind, how focused are you, et cetera, et cetera. I like the game. It's a good game. There's no such thing as a professional, says Sabio. I'm not sure what that means. In theory, a professional is anyone who makes their main source of income from anything, right? If I make my main source of income from writing, I'm a professional writer. If I make it from coaching people, I'm a professional coach. If I make it from poker, I'm a professional poker player, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of people like to have very clear lines of what a professional is, but I think that's rather silly. Beyond, if you make most of your money from poker, then you're a poker player. That said, a lot of people make, quote-unquote, most of their money, and most of their money is like $20K a year. It's not a very good professional, but it is a professional nonetheless because they don't have another job. D. Nelson says, you're in the same boat. Poker is interesting. Yeah, I mean, poker is definitely a good way to... It's a very enticing way to try to make money because you have no boss, you have no like people telling you to do things, you're in charge of yourself. The problem is most people aren't actually that good at managing themselves, and also it's a tough thing. Let's see. Mike says, my site has helped you a lot. Good. You have a question, I'll answer it. I may answer it, feel free to ask. Sabio has a very poor mindset when it comes to poker. He says there's nothing you get out of poker except for a way to make money. And I completely disagree. People get entertainment out of poker, right? People get enjoyment out of poker. If you think about it, most things in life actually are pointless. So if you want to say like everything in life is pointless, then sure, poker is equally as pointless as almost everything else. All games are essentially pointless, right? In terms of you don't actually produce anything. You sit there and you grind and stuff happens. But a lot of people enjoy playing poker. Enjoyment is very necessary. How do you know what to take out of your bankroll or play bills? Mike, go read jonathanlittlepoker.com/bankroll, and the answer is take out the minimum. Whatever the minimum is you can take out the minimum. Let's see, or investment for other things. So investments are interesting. Some investments are liquid investments, and some investments are non-liquid investments, right? If you have an investment that's pretty liquid, like a stock, for example, is very liquid, you can basically put whatever money you want into that because you can just cash it out whenever you need it. So that money is essentially pretty much fine money, right? You don't necessarily buy something like an investment in a startup company because that may not be able to, you can't cash that out for like 10 years. So that's not such a good investment. I mean, it could be a very, very good, a very profitable investment, but not a good investment if it is from your bankroll. So keep expenses as low as you can. I mean, I ended up with a bunch of money by the time I was 21 because I had almost no expenses. Expenses will kill you. They really will. I wrote about it in Jonathan Little and Live No Limit Cash Games Volume 1. Was it Volume 1? Yeah, Volume 1, where essentially I compared two players playing with the same win rate. One cashed out a lot, one cashed out a little. The one who cashed out a little moved up way fast, and then they moved forward. All right. Sabio was making the poor comparison, saying a baker does a lot for society, whereas a poker player does not do as much. We're comparing games players, first off. Again, are there a point to any games? Or is there a point to basketball, right? Like, no. It's a game. They're just sitting there grinding. Some people enjoy watching it. Is there a point to... I mean, they're service industries, right? Service industries do things for society in a very obvious way, whereas game players, people who make art, like musicians, right? None of these people actually provide anything of tangible value, but there is other types of value beyond exactly producing something that people can consume in a physical way. So understand the differences. The one-drop tournaments, says Jamalin. The one-drop charity's done a lot around the world. Yeah, I mean, poker players are a very charitable group. You have the reg charity, a lot of poker players donating tons of money. It all depends on the way you perceive it. Quite often people who perceive it as a very negative thing have just not thought it through thoroughly. Can you be a successful 1-2 player? Of course you can. You can make 20 or 30 bucks an hour playing 1-2. All right, we're getting off topic because I always try to correct poor mindsets. Let's see, finished 98th out of 1,400 yesterday. Good job. You play poker but have no interest in money and you don't spend it on material things. Seems contradicting. I mean, whenever I first started playing poker, I never cashed out any of my money. I was a kid. I was a kid living at home, and I ended up, I think my first cash out was to buy an apartment, right? Like, I didn't buy any clothes or food or anything like that. I would work in a $10 an hour job. That paid for my car insurance and food and whatnot. So I never cashed out. I was playing because I loved the game. A lot of people think you have to be playing for money, but I wasn't necessarily playing for money. I was playing because I loved the game. All right. Am I going to play any of the Poker Masters tournaments? No. I have a baby, and I'm not leaving home for a while. You don't have a bankroll. Don't know if you should play cash or tournaments. Go to jonathanlittlepoker.com/bankroll. And if you have no money, you don't get to play either. That's just how it works. Muzzy says, you're enjoying listening to my books. Good, I'm glad to hear that. All right, let's get back on topic. So yeah, if you want to become a pro, take all of your time off, right? Take all of your time off from your job. Go spend it as a pro. If you have a family and they live in Utah and you want to become a professional poker player, well, that means you pack them up and you go to Utah because that is going to be, or you go to Vegas or wherever you're going to go because that's going to be the most realistic version of it, right? Excuse me, what can I help you with? What can I help you with? Oh, you want to say hello? Here's Thomas. He's the one who spit up on my shirt. Can everyone say hello? Hi. Yeah. Thomas says hi. This is a big baby. He's 2 months old almost, and he wears 6-month-old clothes. So he's going to be a giant. He's my little giant.
You want to be on the show?
Okay, bye-bye.
Come say hi.
Oh, wait, we found another one. No, put him down. I can pick that one up. Come here. Oh.
Hey Jude.
You want to sing Hey Jude?
Okay.
Hey Jude.
Hey Jude. Oh, stop.
He's getting so...
There's James. Can you say hello?
Hello.
What are you doing?
Will you put Thomas down?
James is leaving.
Yeah.
Okay, bye. Go. No, you
Yeah.
can't see. Oh, I see. Here you go. Take it. Give it to Donna. Go. You see, if you don't get used to the distractions, right? If you don't get used to the distractions of life, you're not going to know how it actually feels to actually be in there and grinding hard, right? If you decide to become a pro and you don't take your family with you out there, whenever you go to actually grind like a pro, you're not going to know the stresses, the actual real stresses. You're going to go out there and have a party in Vegas and just relax and have a good time. If you don't try to write a book with a wife coming and knocking on the door and a baby coming and knocking on the door saying, "Excuse me, come hang out with me," you're not going to know what it actually means to write a book, etc., etc. So, you need to treat the game as if it is serious. You shoved ace-2 in the small blind versus the button, wondering if it is optimal in a bounty tournament. Depends on the bounties, depends on how much you could collect, etc., etc. Open shoving is probably the right play in general, though. Let's see. The guy who won $5.1 million, tipped $0. Sabio, understand. The guy who won $5.10 million actually tipped 2% of the money, or 3% of the money, something like that, because the casino required that. Who has a calculator? What's 2% of $5 million? Get out your calculator, do some math. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. The guy who tipped, quote unquote, 0, tipped, I don't know, 100K or something. So, again, that's a poor mindset. And also, who cares about what one guy does? You don't look at the results of one person. So, 10K gave $10,000, right? Is $10,000 no money? Seems like a decent amount to me. Let's see. Some people are saying 100, some are saying 10. 5 million times 0.02 equals $100,000. Can you guys not do math? Everyone just said 10K. It's 100K. I was like, that can't be right. The guy gave $100,000 to the players, or to the dealers. How can you say that's no tip? That's asinine. Also, everyone else gave the same amount. Let's get out the calculator again. All right, calculator. How much was in the prize pool? 20 million? Yeah, 20 million times 0.02 equals. The players in that tournament combined gave $400,000 to the dealers, to the players. And you see someone out here saying it's actually 3%. If it's 3%, it's 150K. It's $600,000 they gave to the casino. You're just not understanding what's happening. A complete lack of understanding will make you make bad assumptions, make you make poor decisions, and make you see the world incorrectly. That said, he didn't give nothing on top, but who cares? He already gave 3%, whatever it was. It's a lot of money. Let's get out the calculator again. How many dealers were there, do we think? Let's say there were... How many dealers do you think there were? 100? I don't know. 400K divided by... Let's say there's 200 people there total. I don't know how many there are. That means they all got $2,000 on top of their salary. Right? If they got $200,000 on top of their salary, which I don't know how much that is, and they got to go to the Bahamas for a quote-unquote paid vacation, doesn't sound so bad for a week, right? What's $2,000 times, let's just say they go out and they do this, 40 weeks a year. It's $80,000 a year. And that's only one tournament, by the way. Don't forget, they also had the 5K. They had a bunch of other tournaments. So that line of thought is horribly flawed. Like, it's just like mind-boggling bad. So we're not going to be going over any more questions from that person, because when you put in mind-boggling bad things, it's just like waste everyone's time. But I don't think that would actually waste people's time, because some people try to tip shame, and I think that is very poor behavior. Also, in my opinion, you don't have to tip anything ever if you don't feel like it, because it is up to the employer to pay their employees a proper salary. You should be angry at the employer. That said, cultures have set up a bribing structure where you're supposed to bribe people to get good service. It is what it is. That's the world we live in. All right, when you're burnt out, what do? We're tired, we're playing, we've burnt ourselves out. What is the solution? We did not strategize well ahead of time, so we don't necessarily know what to do. We didn't take our time off like we needed, we played too long, we played tired, we made mistakes. Okay, fine, we made mistakes, we messed up. Understand people recover in different ways. Some people take time off. You should take some time off. The question is how much time? And the answer to that depends on person to person, right? I personally Whenever I am feeling burnt out, I realize, all right, I know I have like one or two or five more tournaments after this tournament. And I'm going to play them, I'm going to play my best, and after that I'm going to take a little bit of time off. And that's okay. That's what I'm going to do. And that's relevant, right? I almost like reward myself or view the future and think ahead. So it's like I'm delaying gratification to some extent. Instead of being a weenie and quitting now, I'm going to push through and do fine. Also, I find just like taking a day off is fine for me because I take so few breaks at anything in my day-to-day life. Because that's just how I am. I'm very good at grinding. It's one of those things I'm just naturally good at. So a day works for me. Some people take a week off. Some people take a month off. Some people take 3 months off, right? There are some poker players who play the World Series of Poker hard, and then they just take 3 months off. That's not for me. I don't know how they make any money. But that's what some people do. Also do different things. We discussed this again. Mix it up. Like in the mornings, go to the gym. Go for a hike. Play a video game. Do whatever you want, right? But find a way to change things up to where you're not doing the same thing all the time. John Mullen says, you've seen a lot of players and dealers get mad and call players stiffs for not tipping on top of what is already taken out. Definite tip shaming, I agree. What's your strategy for exiting a cash game? Pack it up and leave. Is there a certain time limit or whatever? I leave when I don't want to play anymore. I discussed this again in the cash game book. You should really read it. Jonathan Little on Live No Limit Cash Games. Where is it? Here it is. You can find this book. This is the book for you if you're asking me all these cash game questions. It is all detailed in here. D. Nelson says, variety is the spice of life. That is accurate. What do I think about energy drinks? Here we have an energy drink right here. I think coffee's great. I would definitely tell you to get off of soda, Red Bull type drinks. Sorry, Red Bull, I'm not going to let you be my sponsor. Monster Energy Drink. Sorry, Monster Energy Drink. Not sponsoring here. I think these things are quite bad for you. They've been proven to be quite bad for you, and you need to completely get off of them. If you look at basically all good high-stakes pros, their drink of choice is coffee or tea and water. It's going to keep you in good shape. Also, not a whole lot of coffee, just a little bit of coffee. The show's called A Little Coffee, right? Not a gallon of coffee. What builds your bankroll faster, cash or tournaments? That's a poor question. Try to figure out why. If you're in good physical shape and happy in the other areas of your life, it makes it easier to put in regular hours of poker. Or anything, really, right? If you're happy with all aspects of your life, you're going to be fine, right? Let's see. Do you play more aggressively early in a tournament compared to later? No, I'd actually say I probably play more passive early in the tournament because I want to see a lot of flops with bad players. Always ask the floor person what percentage they tape out for tip and how much is a good tip. Don't ask the floor person how much a good tip is because they're going to tell you a high number, obviously. All right. Coffee's the power of positive thinking. Cat Graves says, not each dealer gets it. It's split between every employee involved in the event. Cat Graves, that's exactly why I divided by 200 people instead of 100 people, right? I thought there were about 100 dealers. I don't know how much other staff they have there, but 200 people seems like a lot. So that's why I went with 200. Maybe it's 300. So instead of making 2K, maybe they got 1,500 or 1,200 or whatever it is. So maybe they're only making 70K or 50K or whatever. It's a decent amount, right? And again, it's not up to me to think that my tips have to provide for other people. John Mullen says that at his place they always say a good tip is 10%. Yeah, of course they do, exactly. So really, burnout, the main tip, main advice I would give you is to figure out ways to not get burnt out in the first place. How do you enjoy life? How do you like what you're doing? How do you have a good time? How do you have fun day to day, right? Because I have fun day to day. Very rarely am I feeling just like actually miserable or unhappy. Maybe I'm just living the dream, I don't know. But I see a lot of other people and they are miserable in their day-to-day life doing things very similar to me. And it really is all a matter of perspective. Am I happy doing what I'm doing? Do I want to do what I'm doing? If you have a job, for example, that you just really, 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 really hate, you really don't like your job, you need to find another job. Actively spend time finding another job. Now, I understand some people have golden handcuffs on to some extent, right? If you make lots of money at your job and you know that going to a job you like will give you a pay cut from, let's say, $200K a year to $50K a year, and you've set your life up to where you need, I don't know, $180K a year to live, well, you've probably screwed up, right? And you need to figure out how to get your expenses way, way lower, because at the end of the day, making lots of money is not the end goal. The end goal, at least in my mind, is to have fun and enjoy yourself. So it's hard to, I'm trying to give an extreme example, right? Like usually if you go from one job to another, you're going to go from making like $50 an hour to $40 an hour. So it's a cut, but it's not a huge cut. Or maybe you go from making $10 an hour to $8 an hour, right? Whenever I was a kid, I worked at the airport where I made $10 an hour, and I also worked at a comic book store where I made like $6 an hour. But I would have worked at the comic book store for free because I liked it, right? Gave me, maybe not free, maybe $2 an hour. It gave me an excuse to go do what I wanted to do anyway. So I was happy to do it. So you want to make sure you understand you have options, even if you may feel like you don't have options. So let's say you do know you want to quit your job to find something you like better because you like really hate your job. You dread it. You wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, this sucks. I'll tell you all, I wake up every morning and I'm ready to go. I'm excited. I want to get to work because I like it, right? And I think most people need that. I think that's a good thing. And if you can figure out how to have that, you're not going to get burnt out nearly as quickly. Who's going to be new poker coaches? We have not officially signed anyone yet. We're in talks, though. We should know probably within the week, if I had to guess. Everyone seems to be getting back to me pretty quickly who I've asked. Are there any books on productivity? I'm actually in the process of... Actually, I'm not really in the process. I have an outline made for a productivity book, because I'm very productive. And I think really what it amounts to is I like everything I do. And the things I don't like, I try to find a way not to do them. A lot of people figure out ways to commit themselves to things they don't actually like. And if you have a good employer, at the end of the day, if I don't like my job and I'm not doing an inspired, great job at it, the employer probably doesn't want me doing it anyway. So they're going to be helpful to you, right? Because if they're reasonable humans, they're going to want you to be happy. Now, everyone's not a reasonable human, I get it. But that's it. Michael Ryan's talking about the idea that sometimes cards are not going your way, so you quit if you lose quickly. That's usually not a very good mindset because the cards don't go anyone's way. You get random cards, and they change randomly. A very bad strategy, in my opinion, is to quit as soon as you're down money. Like you said, like 25% or 45% or whatever it is, because it just doesn't matter. That's going to result in you playing very, very short sessions. If you play very, very short sessions, you're not going to put in hours. And the way you win at poker is by playing hours. If you're a winning player, you make some amount of money every single hand that is dealt. If you're a losing player, you lose money every single hand that is dealt, right? And that's not good if you're a winning player. So you want to play as many hands as you possibly can. You want to be dealt into as many hands as you possibly can. This assumes you're playing good poker, right? If you are like a slight winner and you're playing poorly because you're tilted or burnt out or whatever, then maybe you become a small loser. So you have to be smart about that. But I'm really convinced if I was to go and sit at 5-10 no limit anywhere in America, maybe in the world, I would be a winning player. Whether or not I am tired, tilted, drunk, whatever, I'm going to be a winning player in that game. So if my goal is to sit there and play and make money, then you want to go and sit and play and make money. If you quit as soon as you're down, which will happen a third of the time, you're going to get stuck a third of the time. And you just quit for the day. It seems silly. And then you give very, very, very bad mindset advice here. You're up 8K since January 3rd doing it this way. What if you did it the other way? For all we know, you could be up 12K or 15K because you would have put in 20% or 30% more hours. That said, if you do quit when you're down, whenever you are down on average, it means that you are a losing player in the game more often than not, in theory, right? Let's say you buy in, odds are you will chip up, right? Maybe 52% of the time you chip up, maybe 48% of the time you chip down. If you're a winning player. If you're a losing player, you chip down more often. So in theory, if you do quit as soon as you get down, that will keep you out of games that are too tough for you. But, if you tell me you're up 8K at 1-2, then presumably you're a winning player, right? A heavy winning player. So if you're a heavy winning player in these games, you don't want to pack it up. Because even if you are playing worse, then let's say you go from $20 an hour winner to $10 an hour winner. That's fine, right? The cards don't seem to be random. That's because you see a short sampling of cards. Can I post my schedule for where I'm going to play? I'll tell you where I'm going to play. I'm going to play in Las Vegas in May. I just had a baby. It would be incredibly irresponsible for me to leave my wife and 2 boys to go play a card game. Doesn't seem ideal. UK makes a UK RoboChips. It's a fun name. There's too much variance in poker for rules like if I lose 25% of my stack, I'll quit. There really is. I mean, I'll tell you what I used to do whenever I used to play Bellagio every day. If I lost 3 buy-ins, which was $4,500, 450 big blinds, then I would quit. If you lose 450 big blinds, and to be fair, I probably quit early. I would usually play 12-hour sessions. If I quit early, that would usually happen 1 out of 5 days, give or take. And usually I would be either up a lot, up a little, or down a little, right? So maybe 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 10 days, whatever it is, I'd end up quitting. And that's fine, right? And very often, a lot of those times, those were the tougher games. So who'd have thought? The days you lose a lot of money is when you're playing against good people and you just get a bad run of cards. Some people quit when they're up, right? Some people think, oh, I locked up a win, now I'm going to quit. That's also horribly bad because in theory, especially when you're winning, you don't want to quit because those are the games that are presumably softer. Is the World Poker Tour Tournament Champions only for WPT champions? Yes, it is. When playing cash games, how often should you lose to a bad beat? I don't know. I mean, do math. Any advice to keep travel costs down? Read jonathanlittlepoker.com/travel rake and ask yourself, where are you spending your money? If so, how do you spend money less? Let's say, whenever I go to Europe, for example, don't stay in the hotel where they try to put you because it's going to be like 500 euros a night. You want to stay in an Airbnb where it's going to be 50 euros a night. So would you rather pay 10 times the amount for the hotel or not? You can also do things like getting cheaper flights if you're willing to go a day or two earlier or later. I typically don't worry about that. Although sometimes you'll see that it does make sense. Food costs. You can take your own food with you. Keeps food very, very low. Etc., etc. Good poker fundamentals book. Mastering Small Stakes No Limit Hold'em is the book all about fundamentals. It's a big book, but still not such a hard read. Is that what I'm going to in May? Yes, World Poker Tour Tournament of Champions is my tournament in May. We're also playing, I think there's a 10K and a 5K World Series event right there, and there's also a 10K ARIA tournament. So that's what I'm doing in May. Any correlation between sports bet and poker? Will both become legal nationwide soon? No, the opposite. Both will become illegal nationwide soon. Most likely, if your friend Sheldon has his way. Currently, sports betting is illegal nationwide because of the Illegal Gambling Wire Act or something like that. So you can't bet across state lines. You can bet within states, and for sports betting, it doesn't matter because you're playing against the house, right? But in poker, it matters a lot because if you don't have a big player pool, you don't get to play games, right? If like you and 10 other guys want to play, but one guy wants to play 5-10, wants to play 1-2, a bunch want to play small stakes, no games run. And that's the problem with poker. So currently, the states in America, most of them share liquidity. So you're playing with, they share the same player pool, right? And that's why the games are running pretty well right now in America. But they're trying to make it to where poker has to play by the same rules as sports betting. And if that's the case, then online poker will essentially die in America because you can only play within each state. What is Sheldon's problem? I don't know. You should probably ask him. I think he thinks that if people can gamble online, they're going to stop coming to his casino. Any correlation between the games? They're both games of skill. Both have a ton of variance. Almost no one wins in both. Moan says, why do poker sites increase rake? It's bad for players, especially grinders. Think about that last little section you said. It's bad for grinders. Exactly. Who wins money? The grinders. Poker sites, the way they view things, all the money that gets deposited, they want to keep all of that money. Like casinos are the same way, right? So if they want to keep all of that money, how do they keep all the money? Well, where does the money go out? The money goes out when people cash out, right? Okay? How do we make people not cash out? Think about that, right? How do we make people not cash out? You do that by making sure no one wins. How do you make sure no one wins? Well, look what PokerStars is doing, right? They up the rake. They make lots of games turbo. They make lots of games bounty tournaments where a lot of the money gets cashed out and like no one's really having a huge ROI. You make a lot of satellites where, again, no one has a big ROI. So you make games that are way more luck-based than skill-based. And you up the rake. So there you have it. That is what poker sites want. Whenever you deposit your $50, they want to keep as much of that $50 as they can. So get rid of the pros, and there you have it, right? And in theory, once you get rid of the pros, then you can actually give lots and lots of bonuses to the bad players because they're going to lose anyway. Then they get to have fun, right? But in theory, they also want to make the bad players go broke reasonably fast, like fast enough to where they don't get mad and quit, but they also want to make sure they go broke so that they redeposit. So you have to figure out how much someone can deposit. Fun stuff, huh? A lot of people think they, well, I guess what it amounts to is people think from their own perspective, right? Jonathan Little wants good things for Jonathan Little, but Jonathan Little also has to be able to understand what the other side of the negotiation wants, right? Poker sites want to keep as much money as they can. They don't want a bunch of Jonathan Littles on their site, in theory, right? Maybe some, because at the end of the day, they do need people winning too. The reason poker has thrived is because there are big success stories. So, how do you make big success stories? You have big winners. How do you have big winners? You have big tournaments, right? You see people like my student Blas, who turned $5 into 1.3 million. It's a big success story, right? And that's good for them because they get to say, look at these people who are winning tons of money. But for every person who's winning 1.3 million from $5, there's a bunch of guys losing $5. So the problem with tournaments across the board is that when you give someone $1.3 million, if they're smart, they're going to keep like $1 million of it for sure, right? So that money's just out of the economy. And $1 million out of the economy is relevant. And it's a tough thing, right? You want to see big winners, but at the same time, you don't actually want them to keep the money. I say you as if I'm the poker side. I'm not the poker side. Let's see. Michael says, you profited $45K in online tournaments last quarter. Good job, and used a lot of it towards a down payment. You cried because it felt so great. Good. Happy to hear that. Why are you asking poker players about babies? Because I have babies. At this point, I'm essentially a professional father. I do my best with it. D. Nelson, no, I do not think anyone wants to make the site rigged so pros lose. That is so much not in their interest. Listen, you do not mess around with the authorities, and the authorities say you must have a fair game, right? Obviously, you do not want... it would be so moronic for a site to try to rig the game against anyone. Because they can rig it legally, right? If they can rig it legally by taking away all the pros bonuses, by making the rake unbeatable, by making the games all turbo, they don't need to actually rig the cards because everyone's going to lose anyway, right? Is my cash game book in stores? Some stores, not all stores. It's definitely on Amazon. Well, now that we talked poorly about the poker sites, actually I'm not talking poorly about them, it's just important to understand what their business is, right? When you give poker sites money, it is their job to keep as much of it as they can while also giving a good experience. What is a good experience? Well, imagine you are a degenerate gambler and you know you're going to lose $1,000 a month. Let's just pretend. And I can either lose it at a blackjack site where I'm going to bet $50 a hand, I'm going to lose it in a day, or I can deposit on a poker site where I'm going to buy in for $50. I'm going to do that as many times as I can until I lose my $1,000 and it takes me 3 weeks. Then I'm going to put in 1,000 more. What gives a better experience? In theory, poker gives a way better experience because you get to play more, right? People are paying for the experience. That's what losing players do. Losing players trade money for an experience. Winning players trade their time for money, right? That's how it works. There's an equation here. So understand what is taking place and try to break it down to a math problem. Very often you can, and you'll understand incentives, right? What sites you're supposed to play on. Party poker's a very good one. They have a good rank and good tournaments for the most part, and they're generally very player friendly at the moment. I don't foresee that changing, but maybe it'll change in the future. Party poker's a good one. There are lots of other small sites as well. Michael, I would definitely not suggest playing on the American sites unless you have no other options, because the American sites will keep your last cash out. How will they keep it? Well, they're going to close and they're not going to pay everyone. This has happened many, many, many times. Like clockwork, new sites come in, they survive for 4 or 5 or 10 years, then they close. Then they keep everybody's money. So make sure you only keep money on there that you are happy losing. Or spin and goes beatable, yes, for a tiny, tiny bit. The casinos take out taxes. It depends on exactly where you're from and where you're playing. If you're like from Canada and you go and play in America, they will withhold. But if you're like from America, they don't withhold. Some states withhold state taxes, which you can then get back. But if you're in America, you go to a tournament, you play in America, then you don't have to do that. Why is the player pool so confused about the laws regarding online poker? Misinformation. How do you get money legally into your online poker accounts? Depends on where you're from. Depends on the regulations. Whoa. What do you think of PPP poker? I think it's a site you should definitely not play on. Play on the other American sites way before you play on a site where you play on a shady app. Don't do that. All right, I'm going to go today. We've had enough fun. What's my favorite casino? I don't really care. I like most places that are reasonably nice. Is it distracting for fans to approach me? No. Definitely don't mind that at all. Anyway, try to not get burnt out. Structure your life. Well, understand you, right? Understand yourself and understand what does not work for you. Once you know what does not work for you, you can actively try to either figure out how to make that work for you or don't do the things that don't work for you. Also, we also talked about incentives. Understand the incentives of everyone involved in any transaction. Understand that whenever you do anything, you're making transactions. This morning, I traded 48 minutes of my life plus 2 minutes writing down the notes, which I'm going to make this into a book one day. You think this is enough yet? All of these notes. Each one is from a little coffee. I traded 48 minutes of my time, 49 minutes now, of my time to help you all. Ideally, some of you can go buy a book. I actually know some of you buy books whenever we do this because we have data, right? I actually know some of you sign up for pokercoaching.com because we have data. We see whenever I do things like this, that's completely free, it provides value. If you provide value to enough people and it actually benefits their lives, they will reward you by giving you money for your products. I try to provide so much value to all of you and help all of you so much that whenever you do think about getting better at poker, I'm the first person that comes to mind. That's how I can make money and do this, right? The problem with a lot of people, they don't understand how much immense value you have to give people before they are going to be willing to give you money. Because people work hard for their money, right? Nobody wants to give someone else their money. And they're only willing to do that if you help them so much to the point that it becomes obvious, right? I mean, I paid a lot of money for poker coaching because it's obvious to me the value. I've paid money for music, right? Because it provides value, right? I bought audiobooks because it's valuable. I bought physical books, right? I'm happy to give everyone who wrote, well, most of those are mine. I'm happy to give all the people who down there who wrote these books my money because it provides value. And it's important to spend your money on things that provide you value. And if people give you lots and lots of free stuff, inevitably you're going to reward them with your money, right? All right, that's going to be it for today. Do I think getting audiobooks is a better option right now? No, I would typically say that you want to get physical books for poker books in general. That said, we have data. More people buy my audiobooks than they do physical books, which is kind of neat. I didn't even think I should make audiobooks. I was generally kind of hesitant to do it. Then I realized, all I have to do is sit in a booth for 8 hours and read the book. I'll get up about 8 hours of my life to try something to maybe help a bunch of people, and it turns out it was very, very helpful. Jason says, you keep buying my products because everything I put out is valuable. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And, I'm happy to help everyone too. But I get value out of this because I know I'm helping people better their lives. Better their poker for sure, maybe better their lives. Hopefully that's it too. Can you pay for pokercoaching.com with PayPal? Yes. Mike, send us an email, support@pokercoaching.com. T. Nelson says, audiobooks are good because some poker players can't read. It's true. I'll give you all a very brief story. I was very, very bad at reading as a kid. And the reason I was bad, they had me in the quote-unquote gifted class, right? And you had to skip a class to go to the gifted class. So the class they decided we should skip is reading. So Jonathan Little could not read very well, especially out loud. So I never really liked reading books once I got in middle school or whatever. And I was petrified, terrified, mortified to have to read out loud in front of the class. I remember social studies class. I would get a straight 100 in the class, but whenever I had to read out loud, I would just be so nervous. And I would screw up a lot. And it's no fun to screw up a lot. And anyway, fast forward a bunch of years, I'm tasked with reading a 250-page book out loud in a little cubicle in front of someone who's going to listen to for every mistake I make and make sure I don't mess up. It was rough. It took a long time. But now, I practiced a lot. I've read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Did I do this one? I don't know. 8, 9. I've done at least 9 audiobooks. It's 2,000 pages. Now I've read 2,000 pages of books out loud perfectly, and I'm very good at reading out loud now. Who'd have thought? All it takes is a lot of practice. Don't let your kids skip reading class because they may not be able to read very well. It's mildly embarrassing, really, but it is what it is. Francis said, you think I did a great job reading the books. I did my best. All you can do is get in there and do your best, right? That's something else I was initially afraid to do. I was like, well, if I'm going to do an audiobook, shouldn't we just pay someone to do it? Because obviously I can't read. But then I realized, especially with things that are very, people don't know about, a professional book reader's not going to know about poker. So they're not going to know the right words, they're not going to know how to use the right accents on the words, et cetera, et cetera. So I was very uncomfortable doing it, but I got in there and I did it, right? And if, being uncomfortable is fine. A lot of people think they have to be comfortable, and you don't have to be comfortable. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to be out of your comfort zone. And now, I'm working on a few books now, and I know I'm going to have to go get in that booth and read again, and I'm actually excited about it now because I now view it not as something I'm terrified to do, but as a way to practice a skill that I know I don't really have, right? And being able to practice is great. All right, I'm going to go now. Have a great day. Enjoy yourselves. Be nice to someone. Be nice to someone. All you can do is be nice and add value to other people. And it's easy to do. Just be friendly. Be kind. I'm going to go now. Have a great day. Bye-bye. See you on Wednesday. Wednesday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. No, not Wednesday. Oh, my God. I keep thinking today is Monday. Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time.